Andy Sullivan from Blue Collar Corner. I'm here with David Storobin, the Vice Chair of the Republican Party out of Kings County. David, first of all, I want to welcome you here to Blue Collar Corner. And the last time we saw each other was out in Sheepshead Bay. And we were protesting them putting a mosque in an extremely residential area. Now, what is the update, and give us your feelings on the whole subject.
Well, let me just tell people why we're opposed to it. Reason number one is that it's a very residential neighborhood. It doesn't even have buildings. It's just private homes. It doesn't have enough parking. It doesn't have enough space to accommodate all of this. It's not that we're really opposed to even a mosque in particular. Their position really is there should not be something like this there. If there were a Target store there, we'd be opposed to it.
What about even a multi-family dwelling? Would that be too much as well?
Well, if it's a two-family house, that
no,
would be
I mean like 10 or 12 units. Wouldn't that be a little bit overwhelming?
That would probably be too much for that particular location. Beyond that, the thing that concerns me even more, however, is that this organization, MAS, it refuses to condemn terrorism. It redefines what terrorism is. When they will say, "Oh, we are opposed to terrorism," but when it's a question of how you define terrorism, they'll say, "Oh, it's occupation is terrorism." No, occupation is occupation. Terrorism is terrorism. When they're asked, "Do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn the blowing up of Jewish civilians in Israel?" Actually, not all of them are Jewish. A lot of them are, Muslims themselves. 20% of Israelis are Muslim. Then there's a Christian population in Israel, a few percent of the Israeli population, and they will say, "No, we do not condemn that. That is not terrorism. That's freedom fighting." Well, it's not really a religious issue at that point. It doesn't matter who said that. If you came to me and you said, "Well, I'm okay with blowing up school buses of New Zealand people or Brazilian people," I would tell you, "Look, you're not somebody that I would want in my neighborhood." Okay? And if you told me, "Well, blowing up the Brazilian people is not terrorism, it's freedom fighting," I would tell you, "Look, just stay away from me. I'm not going to talk to you." If you blow up children, if you murder families, that is terrorism. Just recently,
regardless of the ideology of
the ideology of why you're doing it. Just recently in Israel, they killed the whole family, including a 3-month-old child. A child is not an occupier. A child is not a settler. A child is not an enemy. A child is a child. That child doesn't know if he is Jewish or Muslim or Christian, or if he's a boy or a girl at this point.
Now, being a little more specific, at what stage is the project at right now, as far as the Sheepshead Bay project? I know they just had a construction shutdown, but did they restart yet, or is it still in a hiatus?
Well, the last update that I got is it's still in the hiatus. Having said that, all the local politicians, all of them, Assemblywoman Weinstein, City Councilman Fiddler, State Senator Kruger, Congressman Weiner, every single politician in that district is going against the neighborhood. Everyone in the neighborhood, everyone that I've spoken to is against it.
Isn't it odd that very recently, I believe, the Islamic lobby has become one of the most powerful lobbies? It's right up there with Big Pharma and oil, as far as I'm concerned. And I think because of the fact that the media is so friendly towards their ideals, and so are all of the liberal leftist groups as well, that the politicians are kind of scared or almost intimidated to go against Islam in any shape or form.
It's the disease that I call. It's the disease that is political corruption, political correctness.
The menace that opens up all the doors to the destruction of this nation.
It was probably a Freudian slip that I called it corruption, because it is corruption.
Yes, it is. Very good.
There's a time to be nice, and I'm not saying that people should use any kind of racial slurs. Obviously, that is wrong. But there's also a time to call a spade, and there's also a time to say that, if we wouldn't allow a church there, if we wouldn't allow a synagogue there, if we wouldn't allow a Target store there, if we wouldn't allow a Walmart there, then there's no reason why there should be an exception made here, because there might be a politically correct issue. Just because somebody claims to be a victim doesn't necessarily mean that they are. Correct. We're not opposed to it necessarily because it's a mosque, but because it's the wrong place for it. There's no church nearby, there's no synagogue nearby. All of them are located, the nearby church is located in Ocean Avenue. Which major artery. Exactly. The Jewish Community Center nearby is located on Bay Parkway. Again, a major commercial artery. It makes sense to put it there. In addition, all these places, they're not going to put in a prayer call at 4 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning in a residential neighborhood. If you do this, if your religion requires you to do this, especially in a place where the vast majority of the neighborhood is either Catholic or Jewish. It doesn't make sense to do it there. I mean, I live right next to a church, but that church does not start ringing the bells or anything else until 12 o'clock in the afternoon. If that church right next door to me begin ringing the bell at 4 o'clock in the morning, you can bet your last dollar that I'd be screaming swear words at them. I would open my window and, you know, good things would not come out of my mouth at 4 o'clock in the morning if they woke me up.
Absolutely. Not feeling too spiritual at 4 a.m.
Yes, I would not. And it has nothing to do with it being a Catholic church. I don't care who it is. If it was like a youth center there, if this was a nursing home there, and the nursing home decided, you know, we're awake at 4 o'clock in the morning, let's make some noise, they would provoke the same reaction. I would not be a very happy person at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm not a morning person. I suspect a lot of the people in that neighborhood are not morning people. We do not need 4 o'clock in the morning calls to pray. And if you're going to do that, make sure that it's in a place where it's going to be acceptable for the rest of the neighborhood. In addition to that, there are a lot of other, by the way, prayer homes and mosques around that are not in a place...
There's no demand. There's no big demand for this mosque center.
Well, you can go 15 minutes over south. You can go 25 minutes north. That's a 25-minute walk.
But the population breakdown. In this
particular neighborhood, it's probably 70% Jewish and 30% Catholic, and hardly any Muslims there.
So it's a shred of Muslim community.
It might be, a person here, a person there, obviously, but most of the people there are Russian Jews, and whoever are not are usually Italian Catholics. So those are the two main demographics there. Neither one of them is really looking for a mosque.
To me, as an outsider looking in, to me it looks like them just setting up a footprint or some kind of area where they could all come from other areas to converge on.
Well, I don't know what the reason is, and like I said...
Because that's the pattern. That's the pattern that's been going on throughout the country. They're fighting this in Tennessee, Murfreesboro. They're fighting it in Temecula, Southern California. And they're fighting it right now in Florida. And it's all the same pattern, all the same template. You have a very, very small population. They want to come in with these gigantic community centers. And what it does is it's going to draw from outside areas and pretty much take over the area.
Well, I can't speak to the larger pattern because, to be honest, I was just involved in Brooklyn and in the Ground Zero Mosque. Having said that, and more probably on the Brooklyn side because I live in Brooklyn, because this is my neighborhood. I live here. Having said that, even if there was no pattern, I do not want people who refuse to condemn Hamas. It's just that simple. If you refuse to condemn Hamas, and I didn't ask you that question, but I bet that you do condemn them, but if you told me that I don't condemn Hamas, this interview would be over and I would walk away.
You would have a problem with it?
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's a terrorist organization, and if somebody...
I condemn Hamas.
Yes. And if let's say there was a, I don't know, Argentinian terrorist organization killing Colombians or something, and somebody came and said, well, it's okay to blow up children there, I would not want them building stuff there. I'm concerned what they will teach our children there. And I consider Muslim kids who live there to be our children, that they're part of our neighborhood.
Community, sure.
They go to our schools, they play with our children. I do not want those children to be taught that, sometimes growing up kids just like you may be okay. Those kids that you're playing with, you regard them as friends, but maybe you shouldn't because maybe it's okay to blow them up.
Correct.
That's not something that our kids should be taught by anyone about anyone.
David, I want to thank you very much. India Blue Collar Corner, out.